Hello, everyone. I'm Xhoana Kristo, architect. I will actually... okay, is everything okay? Okay. Let see the show. Okay. Tirana, as you have seen, for the locals, it's a place of contradiction. It's a place where we complain always about what we lose. We always are fearing what we have and maybe what it's going to be added to our territory. For the foreigners, maybe it's the best city to explore, as it used to be separated from the entire Europe for 45 years. And it is always a place to explore treasures, to be inspired, and always to learn more about the communist society during the Tirana of 50s, 60s until 90s. What I would like to present sure is about Tirana, that is the third city in Europe with the fastest urban growth, which means that day by day everything is added, everything is changed, and in general terms means that we have to accept the fact that things are about to change. We know many cities, maybe that's the reason why the entire Europe is exploring Albania, and especially Tirana, is because most of their cities are preserved or preserved, yes, and also in a airtight condition, where nothing can be changed without a very strict law, regulation, and so on. But we see that we have a city where everything starts from the boulevard. Even in the early 50s or 60s, where we had the city, and we had first the boulevard and then the settlements, the building, the government building, the residential building, and so on. This is very important, as it shows that the tradition continues, and today we have to be smart and understand that all the memories that are left are in front of us and not something to be afraid of the change. This is not what happens today, but also is what happens from the beginning of Tirana. It's the youngest city in terms of capital. We see that the city of Tirana is, in 2020, celebrated the 100th anniversary, and actually always is related to the fact of the citizens, the concept of 15-minute city or everything near to the city center. We have transformed the entire concept due to the changes, to the fact that we need to adapt into the capitalism. We have the megalopolis now as a concept, where Tirana has, let's say, transformed its entire pattern, its entire settlement or way of construction. We definitely can refer to the image of from the Siam, the 9th Siam, where we have Alice Peter Smithson questioning what is going to be added to our city. How can we change it in terms of being more human scale? And actually, my memories, which are not very far from my childhood, I'll always recall this image when we have the kids playing on the ground, touching the concrete and feeling that everything is not so countryside anymore. We know that Tirana maybe still has places not well constructed in the suburb areas, or also behind this big facades of the main boulevards. But definitely this always reminds one thing: the soul of the society, the social housings. The early years of Tirana as a capital, we see Tirana with mostly 5-floor buildings, everyone in a very unwritten rule was respecting the silhouette of the mountain deity. Nowadays, we definitely don't see it from our windows. Some, maybe, but what is important is that even though there were these pre-designed buildings of other social communist or communist areas with no interaction to the context, sure, Tirana is flat. It doesn't have a direct connection to the ground. So even though it still has these genuine slopes inside of it, definitely very, very easily can be put a flat surface and to put then a building inside of it and on top of the surface. But we see that the boulevards are very important. Then the connection of the building and the boulevard, where is the wide space in front when the kids actually used to play on them. But inside of the housing, we have this kind of not so qualitative aspect of life, 6 to 8 people for 1+1 apartments. So maybe this was because of the funds that were missing, but even though we see that there is this kind of desire to connect to the location, the kids always adapt their spaces. And this is a famous image of Fotokumi, one of the oldest photographers in Tirana, when we see that the kids are here to represent it. And actually, very beautiful memories are collected from movies when we have the well-documented aspects of our lifestyle on that time. We see that the housing was not the place to stay inside, as there was no television comparison to the other part of the Europe. The outside space was very important. So the housing was always related with the front and the backyard. We see definitely that the stairs were also important. Here in the movie, Mimosa Lastica, one well-known movie for most of the Albanians, we know there is always represent the memory of the stairs, closing one door, entering one other door of neighbors, and always was well-curated stairs of the building, where we have the shelter, we have the shadow protected, the between space of the out and inside, where the stairs used to be also a playground for the kids. We have also the entire entrance well created in a sense to be also, let's say, a place can be transparent and communicate through the floors. But definitely Tirana has one very important aspect, has the typologies. There is not only the massive aspects of the blocks, pre-designed projects just taken from other Soviet states, but also from our locals, where we have the typology of joy, if I can call it, is the block of Partizan. Near the University of Tirana, of architecture. Now it's under construction as it's in another project of development. You see, everything is changed, so we need to accept it. We have just in front of it a very beautiful typology where the inside and out is fluid, and we have not only here as a typology, the present, the joy of the locals, the kids enjoying the space, but definitely we have also replicated in other places of Tirana. I want to mention many aspects of this of the housing, and especially social housing, as I'm educated to be afraid of doing or adding something into the city. This was kind of a bad aspect of my education in architecture. Most of the time I was considering from my education, my background education, as everything that is added in the city is bad. Everything that you try to destroy of the city is bad. Or we need to be afraid of being an architect, of drawing a line. And why? Because we were educated bestly to be critical rather than being architects. Yes, sure, a place like Albania, where the critic aspect was lacking due to the communist regime, is very important, but still architects that are from Albania, and it's very sad that they cannot be able to show their talents or to be able to do analysis of the old architecture from the typology aspects or from the interior aspects is a very sad thing, as it creates possibilities for only the foreigners to do the architecture of Albania. Sure, in all these 30 years, and for sure even also 60 years before, I mean, not only the communism, but even through the king's regime and so on, we can definitely understand that there are architects where they have created the history of Tirana, history of Albania in terms of architecture, and still are able to perceive the location of Tirana and also the soul of the joy better than everyone inside. I remember in a presentation about Tirana of the boulevard, the extension of the boulevard. This was the very famous silhouette of Mountain Deity, where everyone was presenting that we need to add skyscraper to understand where we are for sure. It's important to have orientation. But what about the locals? Definitely the locals were afraid of the skyscraper that not even covered more the mountain of deity, but also forgot about the human scale. And this is a great example of human scaling, where you see that the city is perceived, explored. Tirana needs to have a mix of elements. As sure, we need to be acceptable of other things inside of the development of it, not to have a preserved and conservated city, but definitely also to understand that there are elements what we don't need to invent, but we just need to recreate the exact elements, but with better maybe materials, with better infrastructure. Here you have what I'm meaning with the House of the Future Memories. What about the small talks that you had with your neighbor in the 90s or even before? What about the photos or plays every one of us for sure had in the ground floor of the building, in the back on the front yard, or also in the stairs when you had this small talk or exchange of foods and so on? But what about today? We don't see, or we enter the elevators and have no talks, or we have very short time spent inside of the stairs or even in the entrance of the buildings. And here is the perfect example to have this kind of reflect about the local architecture from the locals. And this is no means to offend everyone, but sure, we need to learn from everyone coming far, but also to understand that there are very great values that we need to elevate. I always hear from every architect, young architect, blaming the old communism architecture. This is actually a very sad thing, because everyone out of Albania is enjoying the communist, the brutalism architecture, the Soviet architecture, but everyone in Albania is blaming it. For what? Because yes, we have to be critical. Yes, we have to ask for better and improvement every time. But on the other hand, we forget that this is what we are grown. We are grown into a five-floor building with connection to the ground, back, front yard. We are connected also to the stairs. We are connected to the spirit of the city. And Tirana, even though it's having a very fast connection with the international architecture, the desire to build fast, the desire to build efficient and sustainable, but on the other hand, we forget that this is our memories. We throw things, we buy very fast new things, and on the other hand, we have not the best, let's say, lifestyle, but maybe the best memories that are very present and near to us. Because 30 years for us, maybe for another country, was 60 or even more. And you can see here definitely the interiors where we have 1+1 interiors, accommodating 6 to 8 people. Or even the worst cases, we accommodated 2 families inside because let's say the older child will get married and live inside of the house and so on. And or also you can see the furniture, the typology, this kind of the modernist aspects that we have lost. We say everything is modern, but we understand that modernism has died already. And we are lucky to accept the fact that we had the modernism, even furniture, design, or way of living. And on the other hand, we don't perceive the integration of it inside of in the parallelism to the other countries, where we aim to be like them. Definitely, here starts the fear of prosopagnosia, which means from Greece, losing the identity of the face. We started to hate the development of these kind of 5-floor buildings. We gone to the extreme until now, where we have this kind of trypophobia, where we have tiny windows. I see always architects, maybe engineers, doing the same and repeating the facades, removing the memories, removing everything just to be fast and maybe to be beautiful. When I hear sometimes architects considering I'm doing a very beautiful design, you see the rhythm of the facade, the linear windows, but they are almost the same. And I don't remember any, and I mean really any one that lived before the 90s to say that my window was the same with the other. Everyone had their own window, drawing or putting some plants or hanging clothes or having this kind of decorated interior, or even though the decorated stairs where they have the protection from the sun. But now we see there are buildings, mass construction, trying to be very fast, where you never see the stairs, no ventilation to the stairs, even for protection, and the connection of the ground is lacking. Yes, they replicate this kind of contemporary aspect of the urban landscape of the outside of the buildings, but they forget about the human scale. Everything is not memorable for the locals. And here starts so many critics about everything in society, where we have people complaining how they used to clean and wash the dishes in the communities there inside of the toilet because they didn't have a sink, or they didn't have a fridge, or everything about being bad. And on the other hand, no one is talking about what is good, because we are great at criticizing everyone rather than trying to recreate at least what used to be. And you can see that, sure, Tirana did this kind of experimentation, not only with the material of the brick, which is local, which used to be our identity, this small 1-floor building concreted with bricks, and also they tried to experiment with prefabricated buildings. I don't want to go further in all these aspects, but rather than stay into the positive ones, sure, the material was bad quality. Sure, the quality of life was not that good. Sure, everything was not that perfect in terms of equipments or further development, or everything was with a very small amount towards the market, to locals. But what about the memories that we have of kids playing in the outside of the building? In the early 2000s, we had this kind of just scaling of the same structure. Yes, you have buildings that they don't look beautiful from the outside. They're built in 2000, but are better than what we see today. In terms of having still the scale towards of the locals. They have a very, let's say, comparable scale. Now the locals are staying in a smaller capacity, so we have 2 to 4 people living in one apartment. Maybe this is due to also informality. People were able to move and get their own land, but still the social housing didn't present an identity. It tried to vanish everything inside to the weird blocks with white walls, or also the weird balconies, most of the cases. And we see during the pass of the time that balconies, windows, stairs, the elements, the core elements of the social housing transformed into closed windows to add more space to the apartment. We live in Tirana, and it's very hot during the summer. We are a Mediterranean country, and we don't understand the value of the balcony. How can, like, I see designs where in the northern areas of the Europe with balconies, and in Albania everything was that linear, very thin window. And this may be because due to the need for more space, but not in a smarter way, but in a more faster way. So they tried to close the windows, to close the balconies, and also many of the cases, the one who lived in the 5th floor would be able to add floors or also occupy the place of the stairs. And it is one contradiction between what were the architects of that time doing. You see here, if you know, the building was down one of the studios that built the Downtown One, where you see that I have seen also projects from them that they have no windows. Yes, because the investor wanted to have fast building. The investor wanted to have something more profitable. And also you see the couch and the table and the kitchen and an entire space just in the entrance empty. Everything is very tiny. So still, I think maybe the architects of that time used to design like 1+1 apartments, but not an apartment where you have 2 rooms, 2 toilets, and a very small space to live, like the space of the living room. Sure, the problems were not trying to be translated into better quality of architecture, but we're trying to be translated of Tirana of, let's say, of the high-rise. I don't know how many of you have seen the movie, but simply you remember the dystopian aspect of the entire building. Everything seems so prestige, everything seems so great in terms of design, but at the end, it was a big disaster. So what I want to try to make in terms of this paper, of this presentation, is to reflect everything in regards to the existing architecture, the one that everyone hates, the one that everyone used to live in it, and everyone has the memories of it. So why not to present entire spaces where we have buildings, 5-floor buildings. We recreate this kind of small town, the beautiful aspect of Tirana as a city of joy for the kids. We created definitely, let's say, innovation. You see the very beautiful building designed by Boeri, where you have the greenery, but what about the greenery of the past? You see, this is a building of the 70s, where you have in the balcony a system designed from the local architects to put the greenery where they can hang their plants and have this kind of tropical aspect into their apartment. I'm curious more to know how we will end the quality of the maintenance, but sure, the innovation that Boeri brings is incredible. Sure, what we used to have also is incredible. So it's not the aim to blame the new, but it's the aim to blame us for hating the old. We have the fear of identity most of the times about social communism, but we don't understand that most of the social housing used to be a result of a public speaking with architects. Sure, we under pressure and not hiding anything about the bad or the good things of that time. But they had this kind of council of beauty where architects used to talk together, take more time, discuss what is better, what is not important to be added. They considered the aspect of home. So they wanted always to create this human scale inside of the space. We never think about the kids into a social housing. An element that everywhere in Albania used to be considered. We never think about the quality of life. We think mostly of the quality or quantity of the money, how to divide it, how to earn more money. And as a result, it brings the city of skyrise, of recalling all the best architects with a desire to get more tourists. That's the best thing a municipality can make for a development. But on the other hand, what about the areas that are not in the city center? And we have the fact that they did a great job with typologies. You see rotating, adding, removing parts of the building just to make more typologies and to create different connection with the territory. But also they had time for thinking. And my question is, do architects have time for thinking? This is my presentation, and thank you for your time.